cold shoulder on a sunny afternoon. The park hummed with the laughter of children, dappled through the leaves, painting dancing patterns on the pavement. I spotted her sitting alone on a bench, a book lying forgotten in her lap. An elderly woman's eyes held a weariness that tugged at my heart. I approached with a warm smile and a hopeful spirit. We talked about the weather, the beauty of the park, the simple joys of life. Then, I gently steered the conversation towards faith, towards the love of God. Her eyes, once filled with a general sadness, turned cold. "Don't waste your breath," she snapped, her voice like brittle ice. "I want nothing to do with your God." Her words stung, sharp and sudden. I retreated, wounded and disheartened. The sunlight seemed dimmer now, the laughter of children a distant echo. Rejection, I realized, could be a bitter pill to swallow. Rejection bites. It leaves us feeling small, insignificant, even unlovable. But we are not alone. The Bible is filled with stories of rejection, of faithful men and women who dared to stand up for their beliefs and were met with scorn and resistance. Remember Joseph, betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery because of their jealousy and fear? Or David, ridiculed by his siblings when he volunteered to face the mighty Goliath? And what about Jesus himself, rejected by the very people he came to save, betrayed by a trusted friend, nailed to a cross? Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Jesus reminds us in Matthew chapter 5, verse 11. His words, like a soothing balm, remind us that rejection is often a sign that we are on the right path, that we are living a life that reflects His love. Disappointment can feel like a heavy cloak weighing us down with the suffocating embrace. But we are not meant to stay trapped in its grip. We can choose to rise above, to find strength in the face of adversity. How do we do this? We start by acknowledging our hurt. We allow ourselves to feel the sting of rejection, to grieve the closed doors and missed opportunities. Then, we release those feelings to God, surrendering our pain and frustration to the one who understands our struggles better than we understand them ourselves. Remember, that rejection is not a reflection of our worth. It is often a reflection of the other person's own pain, their own fears and insecurities. When we choose to respond with grace and understanding, we are choosing to break free from the cycle of hurt and embrace the healing power of forgiveness. Faith is not a sprint. It is a marathon. It is a journey filled with hills and valleys, moments of exhilarating triumph, and seasons of profound challenge. There will be times when we stumble and fall, times when the finish line seems impossibly distant. It is in these moments that we must cling to the promise of Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Perseverance is not about gritting our teeth and pushing through in our own strength. It is about leaning on the strength of the one who promised never to leave us, nor forsake us. It is about trusting that even when we cannot see the path ahead, He is guiding our steps, leading us towards His perfect purpose. Why do we face rejection, especially when we are trying to share a message of hope and love? The answer, as with most things in life, is complex. Sometimes rejections stems from fear. People fear what they don't understand, and the idea of a God who loves them unconditionally can be both terrifying and exhilarating. Other times, rejection is rooted in pain. People who have been hurt by organized religion, or even by those who claim to represent God, may build walls around their hearts, convinced that all faith leads to disappointment. And sometimes, rejection is simply a reflection of where a person is on their own spiritual journey. They may not be ready to hear the message of the gospel, their hearts not yet open to the transformative power of God's love. When we face rejection, it is easy to internalize it, to believe that it is a reflection of our own shortcomings. We might question our approach, our words, even our own worthiness to share the gospel. But here's the truth: it's not about us. It's about them. It's about the people we are trying to reach, about the struggles they are facing, about the journeys they are on. Our role is not to force anyone to believe, but to be faithful witnesses, to plant seeds of hope and love, and to trust that God will do the rest. Remember the parable of the sower in Matthew 13? Some seeds fell on rocky ground, some among thorns, and some on fertile soil. We are called to scatter the seeds, to share the message of God's love wherever we go. The results are in His hands. There's a time to sow and a time to reap. We may not always see the fruits of our labor immediately. Some seeds take longer to germinate. Some require different conditions to thrive. Our job is to remain faithful, to keep sowing seeds of kindness, compassion, and truth, even when the ground seems hard and unyielding. Remember, God sees our efforts, even when the world doesn't. He knows the desires of our hearts, the tears we shed in private, and the prayers we whisper for those who have rejected us. He honors our faithfulness, even in the face of disappointment. Rejection hurts. It tests our faith, challenges our resolve, and tempts us to retreat into the shadows of doubt and despair. But we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us. Romans 8:37. We are not defined by the rejection we face, but by the God who calls us His beloved children. We find victory not in the absence of challenges, but in the way we respond to them. We find victory in choosing forgiveness over bitterness, in choosing hope over despair, and choosing to trust God's plan even when we don't understand it. So, friends, do not be discouraged. Do not let the sting of rejection extinguish the flame of hope that burns within you. Carry the light of God's love into every corner of your life, into every encounter, into every relationship. Remember that you are not alone. The God who walked on water, calmed the storms, and conquered death is walking with you every step of the way. He will equip you, strengthen you, and empower you to overcome every obstacle, to rise up above every challenge, and to shine brightly in a world that desperately needs His light. Go forth with courage and never, ever give up. This is the time to be the light.